You are the perfect person that I could have had on to talk about the story that we're going to talk about in a second.
As a pastor's daughter, you're kind of expected to just like be the front, right? So you're the first ones to get there and the last to leave.
She's a pastor's kid. She grows up in like a typical church culture stuff. And then she starts doing OnlyFans.
And some guy reaches out to you and says, hey, you should join Only, and you'll make a lot of money and get famous.
Yep.
And then that happened.
It actually happened.
Which it doesn't happen for anyone, but it did happen for you.
It was crazy because the guy was like a recruiter.
Her parents find out in a very interesting way. I think you're gonna love this.
It was a crazy circumstance. I was out to dinner with my parents, just me and them, and a waiter came up to our table and was like, "Are you Nala?"
No.
And I was like, "No, like absolutely not."
No.
All my mom had to do was Google the name Nala. My parents kind of disowned me, and it broke me.
You're into modeling and probably maybe acting too, if you get the opportunity. So
I
you
mean,
moved away.
not really, but I think my models have shifted a little. Since I was a kid, I would always go to church. I would get like 100% attendance for like attending church and
Typical
all of
pastor's
that.
kid stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
but then it was for the sake of it. Nothing made sense to what people said in church. People preached.
Versus the way how they live.
Yeah, for me it just didn't make sense to call myself a Christian.
Because you saw a lot of double-faced Christian.
Somewhere down the lane, I realized, okay, there's no God. I mean, I can't say realized. Back then, that was a realization. So I just lived my life. I smoked, I drank, did a lot of stuff, and I decided there was nothing for me to be scared about. I think the only thing I had to be scared about was coming back home and being whooped. But that also
okay.
I was used to.
I mean, everybody's scared of that.
No one really showed me what love was. So there's a love tank. For me, it's quality time and it's physical touch. Again, physical touch it's not sexual. Sometimes it's just someone holding your hand and saying, sorry, I might cry a little. But sometimes it's someone just holding your hand and telling you that I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And for me, I never had that.
The start of somebody going down spiral is isolation. When you feel like there's literally nobody that I can turn to, that is when you start thinking about stuff that you shouldn't be thinking about. This is not just a problem with like people like Nala or like people like me. This is the problem with all of us. Welcome back to the Peacemakers podcast. Hope you guys are doing alright. In this episode, we're going to be talking about a story that I've been wanting to cover on the podcast for a very long time. This is one of the craziest testimonies that I've heard, and trust me when I say crazy, this one is really wild. We're going to be talking about a testimony of a pastor's kid. Now, if you are somebody who goes to church regularly, you might be thinking, pastor's kids going crazy is not really that unusual. We see it all the time. And yeah, that is true, unfortunately. But trust me, I assure you, you haven't heard something like this. And we got Sharlett, Riya, Pius with us today. We've had Sharlett on the channel once before, but we did it online and it wasn't like a podcast episode. So I'm really happy to have her like in the studio, in person to do this episode. Sharlett is an Instagram influencer. She has a social media presence where she does, influencer stuff. And she also uses a platform to talk about God, which is really cool. And I love seeing that. We're going to get to hear Sharlett share her testimony, which I'm really excited to hear. And she was also very excited when I told her about the story that we are going to be covering on this episode. So this is going to be a really fun episode. So make sure you watch or listen till the very end. Sharlett, Riya, Pius, welcome
Hi.
to the podcast.
Thank
Happy
you.
to have you here. You had to drive from Bangalore to KGF, which
Yes.
took like 3 hours. And your friend told me you had to make a couple of stops, which was not the plan. And that's why it took you 3 hours.
Yes.
So how was the drive?
I mean, I'm happy I wasn't the one driving.
Okay.
I got to sleep, so it
Okay.
was good. Yeah, it was beautiful. It was good. And I was excited about being here.
For the people watching, give them like a 2-minute introduction of what do you do?
Okay. I think first I'm going to go with my name because a lot of them can't pronounce it right.
Okay.
It's Sharlett, Riya, Pius. And I haven't done much yet. I think it's only now that I can maybe add this to my resume later.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I am here because I love Jesus. And that's all I really know. I don't think I've done anything else. Social media, yes. I was into modeling. And I think it was a lot of bringing glory to my name. A lot of applause, living for the fame and the money and all of that. But somewhere, Jesus stepped in and changed my story. And now it's just, I think I've realized that the more you bring glory to God, He's going to bring glory to you, right? So
Yeah, that's what's interesting about you. It's like you have like a church background, right? Like, you want to do the pastor's kid thing right now?
I am not the pastor's kid.
It's like the usual definition. Remember that I made a joke in episode 1? Like, I'm not really a pastor's kid, but I usually say I'm a pastor's kid because my dad's not a pastor, he's an evangelist. But when I say my dad's an evangelist, I have to take 10 minutes to explain to people what an
I feel
evangelist
you.
is. And it's easy to say just a pastor's kid. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my dad's pretty much into missionary, does service for those who are homeless, old age people. And somewhere I think because I grew up in a Christian household and my mom was a Sunday school teacher and dad was into the church, like servicing through and through, just there since I was a kid. So I think they had a lot of hopes saying, oh, this girl's going to be like a worship leader. But let me just tell you, I cannot even sing. Like, I can't sing for...
dude, I did watch a video of you singing.
Oh, no,
on
no.
Instagram.
I took
You
it down.
post-
I took it down.
You posted it on his story, dude.
Because I tried doing something cool and then I realized, no, I can't do that. But
Nice. But that's the thing. Like, you have like a church background and dad is into ministry. And that dynamic doesn't really sit well with our people when you're like an Instagram influencer, a model, and or doing all kinds of stuff, and then you're also like into church and having a church background. Usually it doesn't sit well with our people.
I think it
understand?
doesn't have to sit well with people. It has to sit well with God.
Like, yeah, obviously.
But I get it, yeah.
But you had like experiences like that. You know, people looking at you weird because these two things don't really match up in their head.
Yeah, totally.
So my first question to you is like, how did you come to faith?
Oh, I don't know how I'm going to answer that. I think it took God a lot of running after me.
Can you please explain?
Okay, I think long story short, or can I say long story long?
Yeah. It's a podcast, dude.
Yeah, okay. So I think since I was a kid, I would always go to church. I would make it every Friday, every Sunday school. I would be there. I would do memory verse competitions and I would get like 100% attendance for like attending church and all of that.
Pastor's kid stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
but then it was for the sake of it.
Okay.
It wasn't because I love Jesus. As much as I grew up in a Christian household, I would do family prayers every day. Pray before you step out of the house kind of things. Yeah, I think somewhere I just never felt God because I think I also came from a house that had a lot of drama. I came from a house that...
Family drama.
Yes. And also I mean, if there are people from my old church watching this, then please end the video now. But truth has to be told. So yes, I think watching them say things about how God is so good, but then live lives that had absolute...
The double-faced life.
Yes.
Okay.
I was just like, this is what Christianity is. Because somewhere people started asking me, you love Jesus because you can sin and you can go back to him, right? And for me, it just didn't make sense to call myself a Christian. But then...
Because you saw a lot of double-faced Christians. See, that's the thing that people who don't believe in God like to bring up. Like, you guys say all of this stuff, like, you gotta be loving, you gotta be patient, you gotta be kind. But when it actually comes to it, you guys are really bad. You guys are the worst, some of the worst
that's
people.
the truth, right? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of Christians don't realize that they are the living testimony for someone who's not read the Bible or someone who's not experienced God.
Yeah.
So...
Your life is the biggest testimony that you can...
And I think that was a lot... it did a lot for me, personally, like, as a kid. And somewhere down the lane, I realized, okay, there's no God. I mean, I can't say realized. Back then, that was a realization.
So you became an atheist?
Could maybe call it
But you
that.
didn't-
I don't want to give it that word, though.
Okay.
But maybe yes. Okay.
Okay. You were living like there was no God, but you just...
Fully.
Yeah.
Fully. I was fully convinced
And
that
that
God
was
didn't
because of
exist.
the double-faced people that you...
I can't just say people. I think it was a lot of things that influenced me.
But that was like a big part
That
of
was
it.
a big part of it. And so I just lived my life. I smoked.
Wow.
I drank.
Okay.
I did a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided there was nothing for me to be scared about. I
Mm-hmm.
think the only thing I had to be scared about was coming back home and being whooped. But that also I
okay.
was used to.
I mean, everybody's scared of that.
Yeah, and somewhere down the lane, I happened to meet a person, someone I really loved, who brought me to this church where I experienced the love of God
Hmm.
through people. It wasn't God Himself.
Hmm.
My very first encounter was with someone I spoke about in the previous episode, like the thing we did online
Yeah. Your
about
friend?
Pervin Masi.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think seeing her, I think I, as a person, I'm someone who is very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And I think seeing her, I really wanted to be like her. And I think seeing Masi do her thing just influence people with such extravagant love. It doesn't happen. It's not humanly possible, like to, I don't know, someone can do the most shittiest of things. You can cut that if I said it
It's
wrong.
okay. I'll bleep it out. I'll leave it in.
Yeah, but someone can do something really bad and come back and tell her that I did this. And she's going to be like, it's okay, Jesus loves you, And somewhere, that's the kind of person I want to be. And I realized you can only do that if you have God's love in you. And when I really experienced God was also watching that church really just move with so much love. And I got to experience God. I got baptized. And I think I got baptized even before I really knew God. Like, I wouldn't even know half the Bible stories. But I knew I wanted to live for Jesus. And yeah, I think since then the journey's been crazy. It's been way harder than before I found Jesus. But it's awesome.
Okay. So here's something interesting that I caught on. Like, it was people, terrible people, double-faced people were kind of a big part of why you started hating God, like, and moving away from God.
Mm-hmm.
And people were the reason that you came back to God, like a big part of it. So that's interesting. That is testament to the fact that the Bible is beautiful, the gospel is beautiful, God, Jesus is awesome, but we are terrible advertisements for the brand.
Mm-hmm.
We're just a terrible advertisement. We tend to screw up so bad sometimes that people look at us and then they go, if that's what like living for Christ and living for the Bible looks like, I don't want no part of it. And I think that's what like kind of turned you off in the beginning. But that's what like also people are the reason like that got you back. That's kind of interesting. Was that like kind of like a turning point for you? Like meeting your friend and seeing how loving and how, Christian she is?
I think, yeah, it was definitely the turning point for me.
Okay.
But it wasn't just that. It was also God
Hmm.
who revealed Himself to me.
How did that happen?
I think I asked Him for a sign. I'm someone who believes in signs, like a lot. Like, I can ask for the most silliest things. Like, God, if the curtain moves, whatever.
Come on.
I'm not even joking. Because
Okay.
there can, there's no way a curtain can move when the fans are off or the window is closed.
Okay.
But, okay, see, that's a silly one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah, exactly.
So I happened to ask God for like 3 butterflies, and I told Him I would be baptized if I saw 3 butterflies.
Uh-huh.
And
At the same time?
not at the same time, like within a given time, within a given day. And so it's little stuff like that. And there was this once where we had a worship time at Masi's house, and they were just worshiping, and there was this one thing where I asked God to reveal Himself to me if He really loves me. Because somewhere in my head I felt like no one loves me. Jesus doesn't love me, because if He loved me, then no one would judge me, and I wouldn't be where I am now with all
If
my...
Jesus loved me, He would make everything like perfect for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Jesus, if you're there, which I don't think you are, I want you to hug me. Like, I want to feel your warmth. And it happened. Like, the room, Bangalore, freezes in December, November,
Okay.
whatever.
Did you make a video about this? Because I remember watching a video on your page where you're talking about...
that's a different one.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of like that. Like
Okay.
these signs where I feel like I'm alone, but then God gives me something just that's something so personal, right?
Yeah.
And you just know that it's God.
Okay, you mentioned like you have like a church background,
Yeah.
okay? And your dad's into ministry and stuff. How is it like growing up in that environment?
I was hoping this question would come up. I mean, I think it's pretty much on the lines of what I said. See, I'm no one to like judge my parents or what they did or what they said. Totally can't, because it's just that we sin differently, you know? But somewhere, I think as much as I saw them preach at church, I saw them share the word of God, it was in the very household that I grew up where I would see them fight. I mean, everyone fights. I'm not saying this doesn't happen anywhere else. But then there's something about coming back to each other, about how you react after a certain incident to display God's love. Because we're human, we get angry, we get mad, we can say the worst of things. But I think what makes you truly Christian is if you're able to come back and apologize for what you did. Yeah, I think for me it started off there, and then it started off with like friends. And I'm someone who has friends everywhere. Like I can walk down a street and know 10 people.
Wow.
You know, and
Okay, that's kind of like a superpower, I guess.
I'm going to call it that. But yeah, I think no one really showed me what love was. You know, you can say a lot of words, but love in action is something that really reassures a lot of things for me. And nothing made sense to what people said in church. People preached.
Versus
Just-
the way how they lived.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. And it just felt like blasphemy, if I can call it that. I don't know if I can use that as a word.
Hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy,
Yeah.
right. Like you say love your neighbor and then you're nice to them and then come back home and be like, bro, she wore so much gold to church, you know?
That is like hypocrisy. Yeah.
Okay, then I'm
Yeah,
gonna
hypocrisy.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
But just these little things that really shifted a lot of things in my life.
You are the perfect person that I could have had on to talk about the story that we're going to talk about in a second.
Okay.
Because there's so many parallels between your story and Nala's story. That's the name of the pastor's kid that we're going to be like talking about later. We're going to be talking about her
Is she a
testimony.
pastor's kid? Or
Yeah, like an actual
okay.
pastor's kid.
Okay.
Like not the evangelist,
Cool,
like
cool, cool.
she's an actual pastor's
Okay.
kid. So yeah, like I'm really excited to get to that part. But you said that you're into modeling and like probably maybe acting too if you get the opportunity. Was? So
I
you
mean,
moved away.
not really,
Okay.
but I think my models have shifted a little.
Okay. But do you want to still act though?
Absolutely. If I got the chance
Okay.
to, I would.
Okay. Okay, that's fun. So modeling, acting, Instagram influencer stuff. Usually when people hear that and they also hear she's a church girl, she does church stuff and that's this and that, and they tend to like look at it different, treat it different.
Mhm.
Has that happened to you?
A lot.
Okay.
A lot. All the time. I think even recently I had someone know me through Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And then after they met me in person, they were like, bro, you are the same. And it's so cool how you can be this and you can be this. And sometimes it's sad because people usually judge you with what you post. And
I mean, it's kind of like how social media works, you know?
agreed.
Yeah.
But also people can't really judge you without knowing you.
Yeah, but they got to remember that we're not posting everything that's happening
Exactly.
to us.
Thank
So,
you for saying
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I mean, we can't do that. Do it.
Yeah, so people see I post, I don't know, different outfits, makeup, a lot
and
of boys.
You also seem to love Bollywood songs.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, in my head, dude, I love Jesus. I am a follower of Jesus, yes, all of that. But I'm also part of the world. Like, I live in the world. I mean, I want to be careful with my words when I say this. I don't want to be of the world, but I'm in the world, right? I don't know how people do it. Maybe people can totally do it, like not watch TV, not watch movies. No. But for me, somewhere, I am not personally convicted of certain things. And I am not going to listen to someone say, don't watch movies, because I enjoy movies. And I don't think there's anything wrong in it unless there's something that triggers you to fall short of God's glory.
Yeah, it's
You know?
depends on it's completely dependent on the person, right? If you can handle watching a movie and still watch a movie and, you know, eat the flesh and spit out the bones, kind of watch a movie and do that, you're fine. Enjoy a movie. Like, movies are good. Movies are awesome. They're like, they're like there's so many experiences that I've had. Like when I finished watching a movie, I was like, that was awesome. I got the message that they were trying to say, and it was a really cool message. And like it's interesting to see that there's so many parallels between the Bible's like gospel, like Jesus, the heroic story of Jesus, and the heroes that like Hollywood and like Marvel and stuff they do. Like there's like interesting parallels. So I think it's completely dependent on the person. If you can handle it, you can
It's
do
cool.
it. But some people can't handle it, and so they stay away from it and they make that decision for themselves. And the part where it gets weird is that they start pushing it on everybody
Exactly.
else. So
And I'm not a fan of that.
yeah, me neither. So it's like it's your personal conviction. Like I respect that. Keep it to yourself. If I want to watch a movie, I can watch a movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of understand that
Mhm.
because I've had people explain it to me as well. Where you start to idolize certain things or certain heroes. Like for me, I'm a huge Talabadi fan, okay?
Okay.
Like a huge
Wait, who's
Talabadi Vijay.
okay.
Yeah, so for
Alright.
me, like I have to watch first day, first shows. Have to.
So you're the crazy kind.
I'm the crazy kind.
Okay.
But for me, I think it starts when the movie is releasing and everything, but I'm not going to miss church to watch a movie.
Okay.
'Cause
you
I
got
know
a
my
priority
priorities.
straight. Yeah.
So as long as you know that and as long as you don't choose to live by that, I think it's fine. And people just need to understand that.
So how do you
Everyone's-
handle it? Like how do you handle when people like make a weird judgment and they treat you weird?
I just don't care.
Okay. So you just ignore them?
I mean, see, sometimes, honestly, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts because sometimes it's the people who really say they love you.
Yeah, that was
That really
gonna
judge
be
you.
my follow up. Like, what if it's someone that you care about,
Mhm.
and they also care about you, but still they make a bad call on this?
Okay, I think someone can really care about me, but do you really care about me more than Jesus does? Because if you're going to correct me, God's going to correct me before you do. That's something, I don't know. I don't know if I'm wrong. I can totally be wrong. But
But sometimes we can be a little full of ourselves and like not
Agreed.
be completely tuned out.
Agreed.
Even when God's like talking to you, we can't
Agreed.
listen.
Fully.
And we need people to set us straight, like
Mhm.
people we care about. Like here's the thing. Okay, I think you'll find this interesting. People who really care and love us, before they come to that judgment, they come talk to us. Try to hear our part of the story. Hey, and this
is true.
I don't think what you did is good. I think it's stupid, but why did you do it? And they're really like willing to hear your part of the story and assess it based off of that. But people who like are willing to write you off at the first glance,
exactly.
then I don't think they really.
There's a difference between people who know how to say it
Yeah.
and people who just say it because they want to feel like I'm way
Superior.
better
Yeah,
than
yeah,
you
yeah.
kinds. Yeah. I mean, I feel like if someone's going to tell me not to do a certain thing,
They gotta tell you why.
tell me, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you give me a reason, convince me not to do it.
Yeah.
See, maybe that's going to sound a little like cocky.
No,
I don't want to sound cocky,
no,
but
no, that's really reasonable. Like, think about this. Like, okay, they tell you to do something and you agree to do it because they told you so, but you don't understand. And it's actually a good thing that they're asking you to do, but you don't understand.
down to your video where you talked about the crossing of legs.
Yeah.
If someone explains it,
Yeah.
you'll be like, oh, so
Like, imagine like, okay, say like my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Even my dad doesn't like me like crossing my legs. And we've had this conversation. It gets really
crossing your
heated.
legs.
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah.
Go
Okay. So like if I start doing it because my dad said so, I'll do it because he said so.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when he's not around?
It's
I don't have a reason to do it. If it's an actually good thing, if it's something that I can benefit off of, and I don't do it because I don't know why and because he's not there, then the whole thing falls apart. Like if you give me the reason why not to do it and really convince me that it's bad, like this is why you don't do it, I'm not going to do it because I'm not stupid. I don't want to do bad stuff and hurt myself.
Exactly.
But people tend to like, you gotta do it because I said so. I'm like, dude, shut up.
and that
I'm
doesn't
not gonna
matter.
do
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't make sense when people say it like that.
Like I said, there's a lot of interesting parallels between your story and Nala's story. So let me give you like a synopsis of like who Nala
This
is.
is making me anxious. Is this supposed to make me anxious?
I mean, we'll see
Okay.
what it gets out of you. Her name's Nala. I don't know her full name though. Her name's Nala. she's a pastor's kid. She's a
Okay.
girl. She's a pastor's kid. She's an American. Okay, so the culture there is like really weird, and we're seeing some really weird stuff online too. She's a pastor's kid. She grows up in like a typical church culture stuff. She's like, you know how a pastor's kid's life is. Like, you're just really involved with church stuff. You're the first one to get to church, last one
Last
to
one to
leave.
get out.
You do everything. You're like gassed. Weekends are supposed to be chill, but weekends are like the most hectic for a pastor's kid. She's done all of that. And then she saw like a two-faced life in her parents and the people that she was around. So she said like she was craving love and attention, and she didn't get that from her parents or from anybody else around her. She felt alone, and that loneliness pushed her to seek validation elsewhere, and that led her down a very dark path, and she started doing adult content. Okay, this part is kind of mature, so viewer discretion advised, and Heidi Kids ID Vibes, like, listen to this at your own risk. So,
Okay.
so she starts seeking validation, right? She's not getting love from her parents or like anybody around her, even from the church. So she starts looking for validation elsewhere. She starts meeting people. She starts meeting strangers. She starts sneaking out of the house and like meeting strangers in the middle of the night and doing all sorts of stuff. And then she starts doing OnlyFans, OF. And she starts doing that, and this number is going to blow your mind. She was among the top 1% of the earners on that platform.
No way.
So she was bringing in $85,000 per month. So almost $1 million a year.
Okay.
Okay. So she was at that level doing OnlyFans and stuff. I'm going to stop there with my synopsis, and I'm going to just show you the video of her talking about this, and we can like break it down and, you know, go from there. I'm really excited about this part because I've been waiting to talk about this for a very long time.
It's not that I can remember one specific sermon of his or anything, but I'm looking at him as a person and his character, and, you know, what we did as a pastor's family. And being a pastor's family, I have to tell you, is one of the roughest jobs. You don't get paid for it
Red
either,
hair.
but like, you know, it's a
hair.
rough place to be in your life if your family isn't like in unity. And our family just wasn't in unity in any manner.
This is another area where my popery will give me some ignorance, which is, you know, priests don't get married in the
I
Catholic
did not
Church.
know that, so
Yes.
that's my ignorance.
They're celibate and they don't get married. So there's a whole long historical conversation about that. But as a result, I'm totally unfamiliar with this idea of a
Understood.
pastor having a family. And I imagine that would be extremely
Hard.
stressful and very difficult, both for him and for the family.
Right.
Even what you're describing, I mean, the traditional understanding of the family, of a marriage, is as a symbol of Christ's love for his church.
Absolutely.
And so everything you're describing is just, as you say, a divorce after a divorce after a divorce.
She looks exactly like the kind of person that our church people would like to pick on, you know? So her parents got divorced like 3 times, I guess, twice. And as the time of recording that interview, they were going through another divorce.
Oh.
So it was like a very dysfunctional household. And like she said, like it was like really hard, and she didn't understand like what was going on and all of that.
As a pastor's daughter, you're kind of expected to just like be the front, right? So anytime someone's walking in the door when church starts, you're at the front. You're the first ones to get there and the last to leave. I ran Sunday schools. I had to be included in anything that the church wanted to, like there was people in the church who felt led to open up like a puppet class. I had to be a part of it because I had to show support. The choir, I had to be a part of that because I had to show support. Sunday school, Bible school, vacation Bible school, any program that there was, the family of the church is expected to represent.
It's like a political family, like a Congress.
That is such a great way to look at it, honestly.
Was
And
it like that for you?
Not really.
Okay.
But somewhere. Somewhere,
Okay.
yes.
Michael Dodds, this is why I like that guy. He just compared a pastor's family to a political family. Like, but that's true though. Like pastors, being a pastor is like really hard too. Like people just watch like watch the pastor once on the stage and see like they seem to think like that's all the life of a pastor. But throughout the week, they're like working their heads off. Like, you know, their time is entirely consumed, and that's part of the sacrifice that they make to serve God. But and no disrespect to that. And even the kids didn't have a choice, dude. I didn't have a choice. Like I had to do it because my dad was doing it. I had to do it. I had to show up for church, do all of the church stuff and all of that. And sometimes when you start hating to do what you do, that's when it starts to get really difficult.
Yeah.
It seems like she's starting to hate what she was doing.
I think just maybe if I can just say something quickly, I think watching this kind of like made me feel how just because you are part of a pastor's family, like you are born to pastors, doesn't mean you're born ready for Christ. I think like Christianity is more of a relationship with Jesus, right? But people just expect you to be, oh, pastor's kids, so they're born with like, it doesn't make sense.
My brother said like, pastor kidna porndappiya rachikapattu vandirmatanga.
That is true.
Yeah.
Which is very true.
It's so difficult because it's just like show face, show face, show face, show face.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Like you don't truly get to be like your own person. You're just your family. You know what I mean? You're a part of your family. You need to listen to your parents. And I'm really young at this point, so it's just like I have no choice. And growing up in churches, like I didn't have very many kid friends at all, unless they were children because I was watching them in Sunday school, so their parents could be in service.
Did you have to like do that? Like you have to put up a face like a caricature because you were like, you know, your dad was a missionary and stuff at church. And did you do it?
No, I think I was always, people just knew this girl is a rebel.
So that's why you got into a lot of trouble. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I wouldn't.
I used to do that.
Mhm.
Like I used to, I was very agreeable. You know Jordan Peterson, right? You watch his stuff. He talks about this character trait called like agreeableness and like disagreeableness. People who are disagreeable tend to be like leaders and like really upfront and like confident and stuff.
Let's go.
And people who are agreeable also tend to be leaders, but they it's hard for them because if you agree with like everything somebody says or like everybody says, then basically your voice just gets lost. Like if you start agreeing, like I did that, you know, I would even if I'm asked to do something that I absolutely hate or like say something or like be at a place, talk to somebody and I absolutely hate it, I don't want to be here, I would still put up with it because I just want to, I don't want to piss him off. I don't want to like, you know, upset them. And because my dad's a pastor, I can't risk offending people. And I put it up and that got me back like really hard like later. And that's what she's describing too. And the second thing is she didn't have any friends. Being a pastor's kid, you'd think like, okay, you're like really famous and like the entire church knows you. You like this, you get so much attention. You like feel loved. You have all of this, all of that. You got the church and stuff. But like, come on, man. Like pastor's kids are like sometimes really lonely. Unless you find like similar group of friends like who are into like ministry and at least understand the ministry part and can like think like how you do, you pretty much don't have friends. You know, and that's why she'll bring it up later, and that's why she started seeking validation and like love from elsewhere. You know, so that's like
I'm excited to see that part.
You see where this is going? Like
Yeah.
she was like really mad at people, and like that's why she started searching for stuff elsewhere. And you were like really mad at like the double-faced nature of people, and that's what pushed you away from God. So.
If Nala's watching this, we can be best friends.
Oh, that would be awesome if she's watching this. Okay.
You know, there's like this love language test that you can take, and it just kind of tells you what your physical love language is. You know, mine is physical touch. I feel the most loved when I'm physically touched, whether it be holding hands, a pat on the back, a hug. That is how I mainly accept and feel very loved. You know, like you have a love tank, you know, mine gets filled up by physical touch.
Okay.
So, and it's not like sexual. It's completely just really nice physical touch. You know, again, it can just be like a pat on the back or, you know, a touch. But for everyone, it's different. And so what I mean by that is like my parents didn't I don't feel as though they loved me in the way that I feel loved.
Didn't give you a hug.
My mom was a very like more stern disciplinarian. She's so sweet, but it's not like she's not like a hugger or anything like at all, like doesn't touch kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then my dad being like respectful because I'm a woman, doesn't do that at all, like will not touch like that. So, and I was like, okay, I get it, but like I just need love,
What's that like love tank thing that you seem to get really excited when she said that?
I think it's the same thing for me. Just because someone says they love you doesn't mean they love you the way you want to be loved.
Okay.
And does that make sense?
Kind of. Like,
Okay.
but what if they don't know?
I think that's what love means, right? To get to know how a person wants to be loved and then love them that way.
I mean, if they're making the effort to get to know you, but they're still struggling, that's okay, I guess. But if they're not making that effort, then that's what's...
I mean, really, I don't know how to like talk about that because I think it's something I still struggle with. Like, I just don't understand it because for me, if I love someone, I'm going to understand how they want to be loved. And like she said, I think I'm going to like pick her words a little. So there's a love tank. And then for me, it's quality time and it's physical touch. Again, physical touch it's not sexual, right? Like sometimes it's just someone holding your hand and saying, sorry, I might cry a little, but sometimes it's someone just holding your hand and telling you that I'm here. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. And for me, I never had that because not because my parents didn't know how to love me. I know my parents really, really, really love me. And being the first child, being the only daughter in the family, I know they love me and they would take a bullet for me. I know that. But I think as a kid, I didn't get love the way I wanted it, which was if I had an open house, a parent-teachers meeting, I would expect them to show up. Not because I did a great job, not because I stood first in school, but because everyone else's parents were there and my parents weren't. And I'm not complaining. Okay, so Mama, Dada, if you're watching this, I love you guys. But somewhere, I think it's just the sense of like, understanding how people want to be loved. Thank you. So I understand how she says there's this love tank and then she wanted to be loved a certain way. And when she wasn't loved that way, she's going to look for it somewhere else, right? And that's exactly what happened with me. I didn't find it at home. And that's when TikTok and Musical.ly came into play for me.
That's the... It's not just you. Like, it's also what happened to me, And it's also what happens to everybody on different levels. Like, obviously, they're not going to have the same experience, but different experience, but the same idea. If a teenager, like if somebody in their 20s, in their teenage years, they know that their parents, the people, their family, the people that they are around usually love them and they understand and they know that for sure, they're not going to go look for it elsewhere. Because like you said, that love tank thing, even though I don't like really understand the analogy, but like if that gets filled up by the right sources, people who really care, then they're not going to go looking for it elsewhere. When they do go looking for it elsewhere and they get that attention and validation, although they don't realize that it's fake and it's not really what they are looking for at that time, but it fills that tank for them temporarily and they get used to that. And those don't come from necessarily a good place, leave alone biblical, okay? Not even like a good place from a worldly point of view too. Like, and that's what tends to like drive people away. Like you said, my dad and my mom really love me. I know that. But the part that they fail at is like understanding me and like how the way that they translate that love is like different, how they express it.
Yeah.
And the way I want to receive it is different.
Yeah.
And that's where the disconnect comes for like some of us.
I think just the whole love tank idea. There's something else that kind of just like, struck a chord. You must have seen this quote that says, when you have a dog, like when you have a pet dog, you're going to feed him like biryani and whatever, right?
That's not a good idea.
Not really, but example's sake,
Yeah.
okay? Like you're going to feed him the best, right? You're going to give him what he loves and he's going to get used to that. So when someone else gives him like parleji or something, he's not going to go eat that, right? So, but when that doesn't happen, you have a pet dog, but you give him biscuit every day, but someone else
You
chooses
don't even
to...
give them the biscuit sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. And someone else is going to just throw one small piece of meat. He's going to stay loyal there, right? And that's pretty much what happened, at least for us, Nala and
Yeah.
me.
Like all of us, I guess.
Yeah, you go looking for something that you want, even if you're going to get something that is somewhere on the same lines, but not what you want. Because that's like the crux of life, right? Like, you want what you want and you're not going to stop until you get what you want.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what happens to Nala.
Mm-hmm.
Like she doesn't feel loved at home and she starts searching for it elsewhere. And that's what gets her to doing OF and stuff. That's where we're going next.
Now you've kind of gone down this path, and some guy reaches out to you, whoever that is, and says, "Hey, you should join Only, and you'll make a lot of money and get famous."
Yep.
And then that happened,
It actually happened.
which doesn't happen for anyone, but it did happen for you.
It was crazy because the guy was like a recruiter. I don't know if he worked with Only. I didn't like stay in contact with him along, but he was trying to get me to sign up under this code. So he tried to get me to sign up. I thought it was sketchy, so I didn't use his code. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I don't even know who you are. And then I started Only. I was doing it all by myself, and I made like $85,000 the first month. I had worked my butt off for a month, and I knew that I wanted to create content.
I can't even conceptualize like how $85,000 a month looks
I don't
like.
know too.
That's like a lot of money, and it doesn't happen for everybody. Even on OF, like he says that later in the conversation, like the median income on like a platform like that is like $300 per month, like the median, the average. But she's like she's like I said, top 1%. So she went from like being a pastor's kid to the like top 1% of like the OF stuff. She talks about like how she started doing that and all of that. Like, I don't think we have to get into that. But watch this. Her parents find out in a very interesting way. I think you're gonna love this.
One could imagine, you say, okay, I'm now going to make $1 million a year, and I've compromised my dignity, and I've given myself some reputational damage, but it's only nude pictures. These days, every woman sends naked pictures
That was
from the time she's
definitely
18.
my logic at the time.
And so why wouldn't you then say, $1 million's enough, no more. I'm only going to keep doing this. I'm not going to go further and make, full videos.
What's crazy is there was like a time in that period before I started that my parents had found out, and
How did they find out?
so it was a crazy circumstance. I was out to dinner with my parents, just me and them, and a waiter came up to our table and was like, "Are you Nala?"
No.
And I was like, "No, like absolutely not."
Oh,
And
no.
all my mom had to do was Google the name Nala. There's no other Nala out there, nothing. And it showed everything, like my Twitter.
So Nala is your stage name? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Okay, so she
Why would any just imagine that scenario? Why
I
would,
don't want to imagine it.
As
I'm
a-
good.
Yeah, as a guy, how do you like? Yeah, that's like a crazy way. I can't even like get the words to say that. Like that's like a crazy way to find. Imagine like your parents and you and your parents are at a dinner and this happens and this is how they find out. And she's like, I think she's 19 at that point.
Bro.
And she moved out the next day. She moved out from her hometown to LA, I think, Los Angeles.
Mm.
And that's where she started like really getting into it and like she started taking off. So that's so that's how they found out. And catch this. When they found out and they like found out like all like her mom found out, she Googled her and like stuff came up, and they found out and they disowned her. That's what she said.
Mm.
So this part is, I think this is gonna get you.
You know,
Yeah,
they're
they're paying the
giving me
bills.
money.
Yeah, yeah.
So what am I going to say and be mean? Absolutely not. I'm not a mean person anyway.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's how they found out. My mom like didn't know at the direct time at the dinner that was who I was. But then like the next couple of days she found out, did research. And that was when I decided to move to California at that time. So I was already going to be leaving Florida. But it was so hard.
Why were you
because-
going to move to California?
What's that?
You said you were going to move to California.
I was in Florida at the time.
But
I was
why-
gonna
why did you
move
wanna- just
because
for-
my business had started growing.
Got it.
And I didn't want to be near my family while I was doing this. I wanted to keep it all separate. And I felt like a big fish in a little pond. In Florida, I did. And I wanted to be a little fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
So just to network and see where it went. But again, I told you, like, I'm a leader. Like, whatever
crazy
I
she's
try to
talking
put my
about
time
it
and
like
energy
a
into, I do it
business.
100%. And I will go hard. So what happened was, like, my parents kind of disowned me. And, like, I stopped talking to all my siblings. And it broke me.
Not to bring up a bad memory, but
okay.
you sort of seem to gloss over that a bit. You say, and so my parents disowned me and this. But that sounds like catastrophic. I mean, so
It was we had this like final talk the day before I left for California, and we were just out on my porch in my apartment, and my mom didn't say a word to me the whole time when I was like, they knew I was moving the next day, but didn't say anything to me, wouldn't even look at me. And my dad was just kind of like trying to come to terms with it verbally, but I wasn't saying anything because I was like, I don't know what you're trying to work out here, but I don't like know what you want me to say. Like, I know you disapprove. I just want to know if you still love me.
yeah.
But I didn't ask that directly. But the one thing that my mom said before they walked out the door was just like, I hope you're happy in your endeavors. And then just left. And it broke my heart, truly. So
Even like at the point of her leaving, she's still, the only things that she's craving for is like love and attention. And I don't know if she's saying she came to realize this after the point or like she realized this at the moment. I don't know. She's like, later she says, I would have stopped if somebody like sat me down and I could see that they love me and I'm loved over here. I would have stopped. I would have stayed here. And she's saying that in the light of like her business already taking off. And she's still willing to stay if she knows like that people there at her home love her. That goes to like speak to the fact that when people are like rebelling, like going away, they're just seeking that love and attention and affection that they didn't get from the right sources elsewhere. And that's what causing that rebellious attitude.
Yeah.
That's all you're gonna say?
I mean, I don't know. I think her story speaks volumes for me personally.
Mhm.
Just that I didn't have the guts to go out on OnlyFans. And I don't even think OnlyFans is it there in India?
I think so.
But I
Use a
may have a
VPN.
secret. Like, there was a time where I did think of it.
Okay.
I'm not even
Wow.
joking. Like, I know I'm gonna get like a lot of shade for this, but a few of my really close friends know. And that was one of the most loneliest times of my life where I was like, no one's gonna give me the love I want. So I might as well, I think for a woman, okay, I don't know about what, I'm not gonna generalize. For me, I thrive on reassurance, love, validation, and I'm saying that in the most purest way possible.
I think everybody does. With some of us just keep it to ourselves.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just, see, I can wear like something really pretty, but as much as I say I wear this for myself, I think I want that one person to just be like, hey,
Yeah.
I like what you're wearing, or
Yeah.
you look pretty today. Or it can be the smallest of things, right? And when that doesn't happen from where you want it to happen, you go looking for it outside. And so I had a phase where I was like, maybe I should just post. Because I had the followers. I mean, now, yes, it's gone down. I have not been posting. That's because, like, God, like, has revealed himself to me. And that's a whole different story. But I was so close to doing that. So I think when she says this, I see her cry for attention,
Love.
love.
Yeah.
And when I say attention, again, like dogs need attention.
Mm.
How much more does a human need attention from someone they really love? Right? So it's just so sad. It's, I don't know.
The start of somebody going down spiral is isolation. Isolation. When you feel like there's literally nobody that I can turn to. That is when like you start thinking about stuff that you shouldn't be thinking about. And that's not yeah, obviously like experiences differ, but it's the idea, the general idea of that is like, I think is the same for like everybody.
Yeah.
When you're alone and by yourself, that's when your thoughts like start to run wild. And that's partly why the Bible has a big emphasis on finding good godly company.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jesus was like the most gangster dude to ever walk on the earth, and he still had chose 12 people, 12 close people, and 3 even closer people, and like 70 other people to like walk around with him. He could have done it by himself, but the fact that even Jesus like chose people to like be around him is, yeah, I think isolation is like the start of like, no.
It is. Yeah.
Let me like give you the rest of the story.
Yes.
So that happens. She leaves. She starts going all in on OF and stuff. And she starts doing stuff and she gets to that height. Like she's like the top 1%. And then one day, I think she's in her studio apartment. And she just feels that loneliness again. She has all of the money. Last time when she felt lonely and she ran from God was she didn't have money. But this time when she has money, she materialistically, she has everything. I mean, come on, dude, $85,000 a month. She can buy a Tesla like every month. So that's like $1 million a year. So you can get whatever you want, be whoever you want to be with and stuff. And she's lonely. She has all of the stuff, but she's lonely and she just doesn't feel that love again. She starts chasing after love and affection, which she got for temporary time, and then that's taken away from her. In light of like she has a lot more stuff. She has a lot more power. Money gives you power too. And she still feels lonely. And that's when she starts hearing God. She starts taking actions. She steps away from that life and then she starts getting closer to God. She got baptized. She put a video of her getting baptized up on her social media. And that's when this story like got out. Because when people saw the video of her getting baptized, they was like, hold on a second. Is that her getting baptized? And that's when this story started taking off. She gets baptized and then she gets, starts getting back to God. And then she gets married and now she's restored. Why am I talking about this? Why am I really excited? This is not just a problem with like people like Nala or like people like me or like people like Sharlett. This is the problem with all of us. Whether you like to admit it or not, we want love and attention. It feels good when you feel loved. I think that's how we were created by God. That's why He loved us, So we were created to be loved and love. So when we get starved of that, we start looking for that same thing in other places. Yeah. It doesn't matter if the intention of the source that love is coming from, if the intention is pure, if the intention is right, if it's good or not. All that matters to us, because we don't know any better, because we're stupid, egg-headed, it's that we get it. It doesn't matter. And down the line, when we start pursuing that, the actual intention of that bad source where we get that love from starts showing up. Yeah. And that's when it becomes hell. Before you come to that point of realization that this is not love, you're too deep into it. And then the path of restoration gets really, really hard. And I don't know, I think the really sad thing that I see really often, especially in our Christian community, is that people will be willing to shun, judge, condemn other people who are struggling. They're willing to push them away at the expense of keeping a tradition that they want to keep alive, that they don't even know why it exists. They're more judgmental. I mean, it's fine. you got to be able to judge and discern whether it's good or bad. Only then you can like make like appropriate actions
yeah.
towards it. But if you stop at judging that, if you're always like telling people like you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, and that is what you get, that's not gonna do any
you
good.
just kind of feel like pura day.
Yeah, hey, bada psych. Nah. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's, if that's all we are, if that's all we are like doing, judging, it's not gonna do anything. But like I said, if the attitude is like, I want to help you,
Mm.
I know you're doing wrong, I think you're doing wrong, I think what you're doing is really bad, but I want to help you, and me helping you is like willing to hear your part of the story, and then help fix those parts, the broken parts of that story, and that's how we help. But we don't do it. We don't do it. You keep telling me I'm wrong. You don't tell me why or what I can do to get it right. And whenever we think about somebody who's doing that, we just like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to be around you.
Yeah.
And that's the growing like, that's the really sad thing that that I can see even in homes and like even in churches. You've had experiences like now judgmental people and stuff.
Yeah.
So do you
I think
feel
it's
like,
have,
yeah,
not had, have.
have. So like, do you think that, yeah, like if rather than being judgmental, even though they know that we're doing wrong, like if the attitude was more like, I want to help you, do you think even if you have a really strong point to make and like, you really want to do something, if the attitude is like, I want to help you, I think you're doing it wrong, I want to help you, and they're willing to hear you out, do you think you would like listen?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, again, Parvin Masi, that's exactly what she did.
Wow.
Because it was never from a place of judgment.
Hmm.
It was always, I don't know what this makes you feel. I don't know how this makes you feel, but Jesus would not be very happy with this, and he's enough. Just pray about it, run back to him. And when I kept hearing that, it made sense. And that's the kind of standard I think I need. Like, because in the end, we're all humans. Like, I think I said this in the beginning of the whole conversation. We all sin. We all sin. We all just sin differently. Like, but that doesn't give you a reason to judge me, to feel superior, because you aren't sinning the exact same way I'm sinning, right? And that's something God knows, right? And he's not going to do that. And which is why I think I've stopped listening to... See, again, this might sound arrogant. Maybe I am. I don't know. But I wait for God to convict me. And sometimes I pray. My prayers are like, God, if I'm doing this wrong, let this person come and tell me. I'm not going to listen to anyone else. So I think that's become the way for me. But if people were more mindful of how Jesus would talk to me or how Jesus would deal with a certain situation, I think it makes more sense. But now people just want to feel like, oh, I'm the perfect Christian, which you absolutely are not. I don't think that is the right way.
That's the part people who are very judgmental forget, that you're just the same as me, dude. All of us have like fallen short of the glory of God.
Yeah, and sometimes na pandrathu velila theriyudu.
Yeah, like behind closed doors. But the Bible does assure us that everything that's done in the dark will come to light, because God is a God of justice. But we'll leave the justice part to him. You see why I picked this story?
Yes.
And the airing, like, surprising amount of parallels that we can draw between like your story and like Nala's.
It's crazy that you like picked me without knowing me.
Do you remember when I texted you about this? I was excited and you were also like excited. So I thought this was a good idea, and I think it was a good idea, even though the freaking interface decided to play its own game. Like the recording cut out like 4 times now, but we still kept going. And yeah, I think this was a wonderful conversation, and I think this is gonna help a lot of people. Like if you are feeling left out, alone, isolated, and you feel like you're alone and nobody knows what you're going through, yeah, nobody knows. Even if I've been alone, but I don't know how you are feeling lonely. I don't know exactly what you're feeling or going through. But at our at our darkest time, when we are lonely, we still have two choices. Especially if you're a Christian, are you gonna bank on your faith, or are you gonna do it yourself? And we have very good reason to put our faith in God, because if you look at your life, if you look at all of the past seasons that God has brought you through, that would be enough to convince you that He's also going to get you through that. So if you're feeling alone, isolated, and you're having like a crazy hard time, it's like you may have heard this like 1,000 times, but just turn to God. Jesus is always the answer. Like we're taught in Sunday school, like if you don't know what the answer is, Jesus is. And I think most of us struggle with this, so that's why I decided it would be a good idea to talk about it. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And let us know what you think in the comment section. Could you relate to the story? Did you like the story of Nala? Do you think it's a crazy testimony, or did you think I was out of pocket to talk about this? Let us know all of that. And until the next episode, next podcast, take care. Bye.